Welcome to your iconic image. If you want to take control of your image and be a power player in your space, then this is the show for you. Here we will arm you with tools and information to help you grow your brand on purpose. I'm your host, Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Now let's dive into today's episode. You may recognize today's guest as half of the 90s hip-hop group Tag Team, who climbed to number 1 in 14 days with their track, Whoomp, There It Is. They are now affecting a whole new generation thanks to a little help from a Geico commercial. Please welcome DC Glenn.
Hey, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing quite well.
Oh yeah, before we get started, got one thing to get off my chest.
Yes, sir.
Sprinkles. All right, now we're ready.
Can I just tell you, it was very difficult for me to kind of think through questions that I wanted to ask you and things because I kept singing the song, and that's what I kept singing too.
Why? but you know what the cool part is? The cool part is that it is all relevant and it is all relative, right? Everything goes with everything else, and that is where I think my mastery lies. So I can't wait to talk about it.
And at the very least, Sprinkles goes on everything.
Everything. I live my life by Sprinkles. It's funny because I was embarrassed at first because I was, this was maybe a couple of months afterward. And I was like, nobody doesn't even know who I am. I'm so happy I get to live my life because I love being incognito. I love being below the radar. I'm not a rah-rah dude. I'm not a star. All right. I'm approachable. But I was at the pharmacy and I was trying to pay for a Coke and I was sliding it. Right. She was like, no, you got to put the chip in, Sprinkles. And I was like, no, you didn't. And she's like, I don't care if you're mad. Me and my daughter love you. I was like, no, I'm not mad. It's actually you made my day. And I just embraced it, right? You know, because big old black dude running around singing Sprinkles, but that is the thing that brings everybody joy. And it essentially has turned into the new party people, right? So I run with it everywhere I go. That's what I do. And I just have a good time. And it's not that serious.
So how long were you making music before that song became a hit?
Pretty much all my life. My father forced me to play trumpet and my mother forced me to take piano lessons, but that was irritating. But I got to the 11th grade and I met Steve at Mayo High School and in Denver, Colorado. And we sat next to each other because our last names began with G. And Steve was in a band that played in the quad during lunchtime sometimes. And I was like, I got to be in that band. And then I worked in the truancy office, passing out slips. And it was down the hall from the choir. And I was like, I got to be in that choir because of just angelic music coming from that room all the time. And I went to my first high school dance and I saw a DJ use 2 turntables and a mixer. And I was like, that is what I want to do. And I gained mastery at all. I went to college at Sac State, honed my skills, ended up doing every fraternity party, sat in class writing lyrics when I should have been studying. And
all worked out in the end, though.
It all worked out in the end. And I became a force to reckon with in Sacramento, California, because I was doing all the clubs, all the big events, all the big college events, all the big campus events, all the just everything throughout the state. And Steve had moved to the Art Institute and I went down to visit and I was like, I know where I'm moving to now. And I loaded, after I finished school, I loaded up my truck, the U-Haul truck, and we drove cross country all the way to Atlanta. And I started DJing in Atlanta. And, you know, unbeknownst to me, I thought I was an okay DJ, but I realized I was a very good DJ. And I just started making money instantly. And I was like, I'll do this for a while. I'll get a regular job. But I never looked back. And I kept making music. I kept honing my skills. And I realized that, you know, I started learning a lot about the music industry. And I realized that I was in the wrong place to do the type of hip hop that I was doing. And I went to Steve. I was like, we got to make an up-tempo record. And he was like, I love that bass, man, but I don't know how to really make it because we were hip hop. And I was like, no, just do it your way, but go back to the essence of hip hop. And the essence of hip hop to me is a record called Planet Rock by Afrika Bambaataa, right? And all those up-tempo records, because that started breakdancing, that started the B-boy era. And Steve made the beat. I made Whoomp, there it is, because it was a party saying it was just a song. And there was no Manhattan Project. We wearing lab coats and coming up with theorems and all that. It was just a song about guys chasing women on a Friday night, which is the same thesis as every country song, rock and roll song, blues song, hip hop song, all across the board. And I took it to work that night and played it on a cassette. And to this day, it is the biggest response on any record I've ever played. And I've been DJing for 30 years. Mm. And fast forward, I had stopped playing it for a while because my hubris led me to believe that I can make every record like this, right? So I kind of stopped playing it. And then one of the girls was like, how come you don't play that record? And I was like, I'll play it for you. Play it again. Same thing happened. But this time, one of my record reps was in the house. Back in the day, there were only two hubs of music, New York and LA. And they all had regions, and they would have people who would service records, vinyl, CDs to radio, record pools, and DJs. So I knew them all. And one of my reps from Columbia Records was in the house, Alan Cole, and he was like, what is that? And I was like, that's my new record, man. And he's like, man, give me that. I'm taking this to New York, because he was going to New York next week. I get a call 2 days later from Columbia Records. We love that record. We like the record. And I was like, this can work for every record label. So now I got all these record labels talking to me, but none of them wanted to pull the trigger, right? They were like, well, we want to develop you for another year or two. I was like, no, I ain't got time for that, right? It's like, this is a hit record. This needs to go now. Just press a single and we can go. And I almost gave up because I was so frustrated. And a lady named Lisa McCall, who worked at Mercury Records, said, you need to talk to Al Bell. And Al Bell the previous year had put out Daisy Dukes, and that record, it went gold. And for those who don't know who Al Bell is, in the beginning of soul music, there were 3 record companies: Motown, Philly International, and Stax Records. Al Bell owned Stax Records. So he knew the record game inside and out. And I gave him a call, and it took about 2 weeks to call me back. And he was like, Mr. Glenn. I was like, look, man, we got a hit record, everybody playing with me. You need to sign us. He's like, okay. I was like, no. Don't play with me, man. I was like, you haven't even heard the record. And I'll never forget these words. He said, brother, I don't have to hear the record. I hear it in your spirit. Let's agree to agree, get this thing moving. And I gave my 2 weeks at Magic City, which is the club I was working at the time. Signed a messed up record deal. And in a month and a half, we were platinum, and the rest is history.
And, I wanted to ask you about that, because we hear so many stories about artists being taken advantage of in the record industry and things like that. So how did you navigate all of that?
The best I could, and I don't regret anything because I'm a grown man, and it was my responsibility to, if I'm going to get into, it's like if you're going to buy a house, if you don't do your due diligence, you're going to buy a house where the foundation's messed up. You know what I mean? It's got water damage. Anything in life, if you don't do your due diligence, you're going to have challenges. And we actually signed a decent deal, but there was a point where we had to sign over a piece of our rights. And I didn't really know what it was, and I did it anyway. Mm. And that was the fatal flaw. And for me, instead of looking at the glass half empty, I always look at the glass half full. And, the scenario was record company A went bankrupt. So I'm like, where's my money? Record company B buys record company A out of bankruptcy. And now Tag Team is in the middle, and they're the pawns for the game. And I said, okay, I know eventually I'm going to have my day in court. So you basically better become a paralegal. And that's what I did. And I learned about discovery. I learned about case law. I learned about how to file a motion. I learned about where you got to go to even have a trial in a district court, right? If you file a motion, they could turn it down because they think your case doesn't have standing or isn't worthy. I learned all these things
Mm.
and I prepared. And I used to send all the paperwork to my mother, and she put it in a trunk in the basement. And I digitized all of it just for memory's sake. But it just happened that I put all that together. I had everything I needed. And 20 years later, after all those lawsuits are over, you know, we had to fight because the record company that lost was like, we can't have it, nobody can. And we prevailed. And it came at a cost because when you're in war, you lose an arm, you lose a leg, come back with an eye patch. But now everything is settled. And now we can do we you know what we really, really want to do. And we've always been able to do what we wanted to do, but just having that in the back of your head that you can't do a lot of things because somebody won't let you on something that you made is just irritating. But I tried not to think about it. I tried to sequester my ego and I tried to sequester my pride. And I say that because that challenge, that heartache, that pain was the very thing that taught me how to sequester my ego and sequester my pride. Because I'm sitting in a movie theater in 2005, and I'm looking at Will Ferrell dance on a table in Elf. There it is. And I'm like, I'm happy, but then I'm mad. They didn't even tell me or ask me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you had to go through those. You had to go through that tit for tat. And I was like, nope. Keep the negative to sequester your ego. And when you sequester your ego and your pride, your mind is open to every possibility left. Right. And that's what you focus on. So then I realized that I had a forever hit record. And if I have a forever hit record that is an evergreen product, then it is up to me to make my money. Nobody else, no managers, nobody, no record companies, no promotion guys, no publicists. It's up to me. And I've always been on this journey to learn everything I could about what it is I love to do. And when you do that, you use certain apparatuses or apparati? I can't know. What's that name? Use certain portals. Stuff. Yeah, certain things to achieve these goals. So if I'm DJing at the clubs, because I was a great DJ, so I just went back to DJing after the lawsuit because, you know, we're still doing shows, but, you know, I'm trying to fund if there's legal stuff that comes up, I got to pay for it. I gotta, you know what I mean? So it's like always I needed income, but DJing is what I knew all my life. So I got to do what I love to do all my life. But I'm not just your DJ. I am your sound guy, light guy. I do your flyers. I do your video. I do your television commercials. I do your fashion photography. I do everything. And what I've done in essence is make myself invaluable. Because you got to hire 10 people to do everything I can do. Mm-hmm. Now, people will look at back in the day will say, why are you doing all that? You ain't making no money doing it. You a jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah. But if you hustle hard enough, live long enough, learn how to learn, you become masterful at those trades. Then they all come into one big ball and they serve you in ways you never could imagine as time goes along. And you become ambidextrous in life. So there's nothing you can't do because you've got the mastery. You put in the work. You have planted the seeds that have come to harvest, right? And whenever there's a traumatic incident in my life, like with that lawsuit, I said, I'm gonna be a paralegal. Well, they beat me out some money. So you better learn about finance. And I became a licensed commodities broker. And I passed a Series 3 exam. It's 2000. Series 3 exam. But then I use, you know, throughout my life, I've developed, I call them learn how to learn hustle tactics. It's not enough just to learn. You have to learn how to learn. What does that look like? Well, if I'm taking any certification, trying to get any license, there's no ego and pride involved, but there are for a lot of people. I got to pass this on the first time. I don't even think like that. I'm like, How many times can we take the test? 3. All right. I'm gonna go fail it the first time just so I can see what's on the test. Right? Not to, just see what's on the test, but to see to kind of guide me and narrow my focus on what I need to be learning, because I'm still working, I'm still doing shows, I'm still doing all these things. So everything is about narrowing the focus of what not to do and focus on the things that you do to get you where you need to be. And I passed the second time. I ended up working for 3 brokerage firms while I'm DJing at night, while I'm still doing shows. But then, it kind of wasn't for me. But I said, okay, I think I want to do a hedge fund. How do you do a hedge fund? I don't know how to do a hedge fund. Well, make a call. Hedge funds have to have hedge fund managers. So start calling some hedge fund managers. I will call them. And this is the only time I use my celebrity. What little I have. My name is DC Glenn with Tag Team. Remember that song, Whoomp, There It Is? Hey, I've got Deion Sanders and Dominique Wilkins and all these cats down in Atlanta that want to invest money. And I know all these people personally because I was at the biggest clubs in Atlanta. So, can I get a meeting? It's like, yeah, you can get a meeting. So I get a meeting in all these cities. I'm in a boardroom in Vegas and everybody's, doing their fan thing because they can't believe that I'm sitting there with them, right? The guy that sings Whoomp, There It Is. And this is another learn how to learn hustle tactics. I'm like, why should I let you manage my hedge fund? What makes your company better than a company in New York or the company in San Francisco? Well, DC, because our returns are like this and we take care of our people and boom, 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 whoop, 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 and we whoop, 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 wah, 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 wah. And what they don't realize is while they're pitching me, they're teaching me. And that's what I do. And I figured out that it wasn't for me because it's basically a form of intellectual gambling. And I'm too emotional when it comes to money. So that wasn't for me, but there are unintended consequences in the positive way for things that you do, because there's anything that you do is not, the time is not wasted. Because the year 2000, I would look at CNBC, not know anything they were talking about. Year 2002, I knew everything they were talking about. I say, okay, you got finance, you got your legal part. What about your business part? Well, let's start running. I was into self-help back then, just going through all the books. And if you catch one thing out of those books or those audio books, you can change your life. And the one thing I caught was learn how to run your life like a corporation. Oh, that's cool because I'm already, that's easy. Because I am a business in essence. I just have to run my life like one. Well, how do you do that? Well, get your credit right. That's the first thing I could think of. So I just started with my credit and got all the information and cleaned my credit up. And then next thing you know, I'm like, okay, I want to have a business. Well, I got my tax people already. So what kind of business do you want? It's like, maybe I should do an LLC because everybody's saying do an LLC. And my tax guy's like, don't ever get an LLC. He said, you expect to be making money, C Corp. And I'm so glad I did, right? And I got a C Corp. Then I realized, wait a minute, you can have corporate credit. Corporate credit, there's another form of credit? Yeah, you got regular credit, you got corporate credit. That's what a DUNS number's for. I just learned about business by running my life, right? And I had frustrations with bookkeepers because I would send them stuff and they just make up stuff. They wouldn't ask me or anything. I said, you know what? Let me do my own bookkeeping. And I learned how to use QuickBooks. I found a tutor and now I'm masterful at it. And I know where every penny goes. I know anybody's taking anything from me. And I learned how to learn in a way that makes me always in a position to flourish. And I'm like, well, I'm at the club, and another self-help book is called the dudes. I can't remember the name of the book, but the concept was getting in the corridor, right? He wanted to own a pie shop. So he went and worked at a pie shop for 6 months, quit, had a pie shop, and he was like, oh, I should franchise it. Franchised it, sold it for $20 million. That's my mindset. Well, what can I do while I'm in the corridor now? Well, you're at this club. It's very lucrative for you. You've got already 4 or 5 streams of income. Do all the marketing. Well, how do I do that? Put together a business plan. Okay, cool. Let me go do this little essay, this little homework assignment. But that is so far from what a business plan is. Business plan is difficult. It took me 6 months, but I did it because I had good people to help me. And I gave a PowerPoint presentation with a projector and a screen to my boss, and she cut me a check for $25,000 and said, get to work. And now I'm the marketing manager. So now I get to hone my skills in voiceover, hone my skills in videography, hone my skills in advertising, public relations, SEO, web development, all those things. But when you're doing all those things at the beginning, it just seems like you're all over the place because you actually are, because you don't know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
But some of those things you start liking, and voiceover was one. And I started training for voiceover around 2009. I would fly up to New York, then fly to LA. I wanted the best coaches. And once again, my hubris got in the way because I'm thinking it's the coach's fault that I can't learn this fast because I'm thinking I could just, whoop, there it is, my way through anything. But I was wrong. And it was hard and it was challenging, but I never gave up. And for the past 12 years, this microphone has pulled me from the abyss so many times when nothing else could, right? I mean, I could get shows, I can get all these things, but you need, the challenges of something that you really, really want to crack. They all come back to serve you, right? So I think 2011, I'm at work DJing and I get a call. And they're like, DC, there's this lady at the front door. She want to talk to you. It's like, y'all can't take a message. She was like, she will not get off the phone. I'm like, ooh, which one of these women I done? Oh my gosh, what have I done? And I went as a reporter from the New York Times. I was like, look, lady, please call me in the morning because my record's about to go off. And she called me in the morning and she said, DC, have you read the Gawker article? And I was like, Gawker? And she's like, the world thinks that Barack Obama was in your music video. And I'm like, what? And they took one frame for this guy named L.A. Snow, who was in Deuce. They put out the record the year before, and he looks exactly like a young Barack Obama, and the whole world blew up. And we did press for a week. ABC, NBC, Stephen Colbert show. Everybody did spoofs off of it. It just blew up for a week. And at the end of that week or two, I was highly upset because it was another traumatic incidents, right? Where we didn't have a web presence. That's why she couldn't find me. And because I didn't have a web presence, not the people who needed to find me couldn't find me.
Mm.
So whenever that happens, I vow that'll never happen again. And that's what started my SEO career. Search engine optimization, the ability to get to where you want, who you want to get in front of in Google or any search engine. And it was hard. It was challenging. I didn't understand it. It was tricky, right? Back then you type in tag team, it was all wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you type in tag team today, it's all tag team because I didn't give up. I play offense. I don't quit and just learn how to learn and stay positive. Fast forward, pandemic 2020, September, I get a call from my acting agent. DC, you just booked a Geico commercial. It's like, Lena, why are you playing with me? We're in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody's stressed out. You talking about I booked a Geico commercial? I haven't even auditioned for a Geico commercial. She's like, no, DC, tag team. I was like, oh, went and checked the tag team phone. Sure enough, there was a message from Geico. We want you guys in our next commercial. And they called the phone, but I didn't answer, but they didn't wait. But they were able to find me in one stroke because I'm able to be found now easily. They went to my IMDb portal for acting. They got the number to my agent. You talk about synergy. This is my agent for acting and commercials. They're the one that booked me to do my commercials anyway. Now I don't have to get lawyers on, have to get anything. I got people with expertise. And they make the deal, and it's the most lucrative deal I've ever made in my life. And it's a testament to just perseverance, steadfastness, continue to train, no matter what it is. And the one thing the pandemic did for me was I vowed that I will not leave this earth regretting something I always wanted to do that I didn't do.
I heard so many different things in all of that. I heard about being a sponge for learning. I heard about taking control of your business and your brand, about being easily found, about embracing opportunities, all kinds of things. When you first started out, did you know what you wanted your brand and your image to look like, or did it kind of find you over the years?
Here's what I do. And people get on me about this. The traditionalist will say, DC, you cannot do everything. This industry works like this. You can only do it like this. You can only do it like that. You can't do everything. And I say, you know what? You're right. But I sure enough can be prepared for everything. And they're like, you know what? That makes sense. I'm like, I just shake my head because I'm like, the very thing you just disapproved of, you now approve of, said differently, because it's the same thing, because preparation is doing everything, right? So it's not about, if there's something I want to do, I prepare for it. Everybody's coming to me with opportunities and they're mad because I don't move fast. But I'm like, I gotta vet this. Right? If you're coming at me with an NFT opportunity and I don't know nothing about NFTs, that's my fault if I get taken. If you're coming at me trying to do cameos and I don't have the time to do cameos and something else suffers, that's a bigger lick than what I'm trying to do, then that's my fault, right? Because I'm going after the super lick. So it's interesting because it's interesting you said that, because, and this is a very good story, right? So got to give you a little backstory for it first. January, we have a big meeting at the People Store, is my agent for acting, commercials, print, all that, right? And we have a big meeting and they're like, so DC, what do you want? And I'm like, you guys do a great job for me, because I'm humble. And I learned that agents can't stand when you just gimme. Why am I not this? Why am I not that? So I just flip it and be like, you know what? Thank you. DC, what do you want? What kind of roles do you want? No, you guys do a great job. And then Lena, she's my rock, said, DC, what is your bucket list? I said, oh, that is a different question. And I said, I want to be in The Mandalorian. Well, I want to be in anything Star Wars universe, live action or animation. And we got to work. I said, I don't want to be a star. I just want small roles in big movies. I'll take care of the rest, because I know what I'm doing. I know how to brand. I know how to market. I know innovative things that nobody's even talking about right now, right? I know SEO. I know how to write Wikipedia pages. I know Wikidata. I know how to do JSON schema markup LD. Like when you say you type in, you're looking for a recipe for pecan pie. When the results come back, you're going to have that one result that got all the stars and whistles and reviews and all that schema. I know how to do that masterfully, right? And it's taken me a long time to do it. So I do press releases all the time, right? So we're in the middle. We're like, I'm going to get a publicist because I know I can't do shows. Now I got this Geico commercial because we're in a pandemic. So I said, let's get a publicist. We can blow up acting and voiceover. And we start having meetings and they were like, well, we don't kind of know what to do. We usually do a junket in New York, LA, and this is a commercial. So this is different. It's not a movie. You don't have a track record. I was like, thank you. Because you guys give me every reason why you can't do something for me. And I'm trying to pay you instead of one reason why you can. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be my own damn publicist. Listen to what I'm saying. Learn how to learn hustle tactics. This is my greatest one ever. Whenever somebody tells you can't do something, whenever there's a roadblock in your way, wherever you feel like you just are at your wit's end, whenever you're in doubt, join an organization, society, or association. Because those entities are filled with people who love their profession as much as you love what you're trying to do. And they have been doing it for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And they can't wait to run their mouth and tell you everything it is about what they do. So I joined the Public Relations Society of America. 2 days in, this is Super Bowl week on a Wednesday, I am on this podcast or this Zoom cast with the CEO of this firm. And I raised my hand because I'm kind of, if I'm jumping in, I'm jumping in. And I'm like, a press release is relevant because I had wrote a press release and something had told me to hold off, right? And she was like, what's it for? And I was like, well, I'm kind of featured in a national commercial, Geico commercial called Scoop. There it is. And I'm looking at the chat and it's like, wait a minute, that's not him. Oh my God, it is him. Dude, I love that commercial. My kid loves that commercial. My mom loves that commercial. Blew up the entire chat. Now the whole Zoom call is about me, right? And hey, the moderator is like, okay, we'd like to welcome DC to the organization, but we're going to get back to that commercial after this podcast. But back to his question, a press release is relevant. And the CEO is like, yes. And let me tell you why, because the whole last year has been COVID. The whole last year has been politics. We are living in a bizarro world, right? For those who don't know what bizarro world is, Superman has a villain, which is himself, who comes from the reverse world of his. So bizarro world means things that are different from what you're used to, right? I'm not going to say bad things, but things that are different from what they're used to. And she said, of course that commercial is going to work. Because here you guys come throwing sprinkles and spinning scoops and eating ice cream and dancing in DC or Smile. She said, drop that press release as soon as possible. And you're going to go here for all the journalists. You're going to go here for all the TV talk show hosts. You're going to go here for all of the podcasters. You're going to make sure your pictures are like this. And she gave me the entire breadth of her experience in 10 minutes.
Mm.
And I have not looked back, and it has opened doors for me I could have never, ever imagined. And it is the reason that you and I are having this beautiful conversation right now.
So there are so many things. I could talk to you for hours, by the way. What do you see as next for you?
People ask me, they don't really ask me. What happens is I thrive on problems and excuses. In all the books, they're like, keep negative people away from you. Don't want to be around negative people. Only positive people should be around you. And I'm like, nah, that's not true, because some of the most negative people in your life are the people that love you the most and the people that you love the most. So what you going to do about that? I said, but you have to use that, right? So when people come to me with all these problems and stuff, I'm like, what's the solution? What? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, stop. What is the solution? They can't even tell me. Or I'm like, well, what do you want? Well, I was like, no. Think about it. What do you want? They can't tell me. And I use these opportunities to come up with all kinds of solutions. For every problem you give me, I'm coming up with 5. For every excuse, I'm coming up with 5. And I'm putting it in my toolbox. Wait a minute, I don't have a toolbox. I think I have a Home Depot. No, not a Home Depot. I got a Ace Hardware, right? And I put all these things in my Ace Hardware to use for later. So I talk to people all the time, and I'm like, what do you want? And I'm kind of forceful with it. And they can't tell me. And I'm like, look, if this is what you want, make it the most fantastical, pie in the sky, far-fetched, dreamy. Everybody's telling you there ain't no way you can do that. But you think you can do that because you see your vision. And then, well, it ain't working now, but what if you inch your way back? Still ain't gonna work. Inch your way back. Well, if I did this, flip that, restructured this and learned this, maybe this. Well, I'm halfway doing this now. Just do that, that, and that. Wow, I'm doing this. And what they don't realize, they're halfway there. And what I've just taught them to do is to make a reverse business plan, right? Because it comes with a step ladder to your goals and dreams. You just work your way back to practicality. That's all you're doing. And if that's your vision, you see it. And some people get it, but most people don't. But then they try to flip it back on me. Well, DC, what do you want? And I'm like, I want it all. Because I put myself in a position where there are so many opportunities coming at me. There's no way I could do them all. But I get to pick and choose which ones I want to do. And because I've been a jack of all trades, master of none, and all of these trades done become masterful, and I'm ambidextrous in life, anything comes my way, I can hash it out real quick and know if I want to do it or not. So that's why I've combined all the things that I'm very good at: acting, voiceover, SEO, just all of it, music production, right? Because when I vowed that I will never leave this earth regretting something I wanted to do that I, something I've always wanted to do and didn't do, I took action and I got all kind of tutors. I use a site called Wisant, and I'll go and get tutored for something. I use Upwork. I can tell you right now, I got 3 cryptocurrency coaches because I need people to tell me what it is. I already know what it is, but I want to hear what that. See, this is the thing too. Even if you know it, go find people who know it so y'all can collaborate so you can really know if they know it. Because if they know it, they might give you more than you need. And then you get to take that, put it all in one big ball, and then now it's custom to you. And it works for you because you've hashed it out. That's why I do 3 or 4 of these a day, because they kill 14 birds. These podcasts kill 14 birds with one stone. Articulation, I'm practicing voiceover. Diction, I'm practicing storytelling for acting. I'm meeting new people. I'm practicing hard questions. I'm practicing easy questions. I'm practicing narration. I'm practicing what is the narrative. I'm practicing how do I figure this out? I'm practicing what analogy can I do to explain this easier? I'm practicing all these things. I'm doing the work. What people don't understand is that you don't go to the gym, do a set of bench press for 10 reps, then go to the mirror and say, hey, I'm buff now. Don't work like that. You got to put in reps. With acting, people get mad because they might do 5 auditions and they haven't booked a part. Then they get in there in their emotions, they're in their pride and they're in their ego. And I was like that a little at first, but then I realized, wait a minute, put in the work, because if I got to get to 1,000 auditions before I get my one big role, then give me 50 auditions a day so I can get to it. But I didn't even have to go that far. I booked after 4 months. I started acting in 2017. I got hooked. I was in class every day, and I booked after 3 months. Last week, I just booked 2 TV shows in 2 weeks. I'm scrambling right now because I just finished one TV show. Then I got to go to a convention with an organization that I'm a part of, which is called NACA, National Association of Campus Activities, to promote myself and brand myself as tag team so we can get shows at college places, but as a motivational, transformative speaker, DC Glenn, who is available, right? And because I can combine the two, but separate the two, everybody's going to be at my booth. And people are going to be, and when I start talking, just like I'm talking to you now, we've already done this. This could be, I would do probably 10 minutes of an introduction, then I do question and answer. Because I put in the reps doing this. Everything serves everything else. So when people try to infiltrate and throw you things that don't fit in your ball, you got to say no. And I say no to a lot. until I can learn about it and see how lucrative it could be, because I'm trying to hit super licks, right? I'm not trying to be an artist again, but I do want to make music again. So if there's a Christmas movie that I'm auditioning for in July, well, hey, I can make a Christmas song and submit it to the ad agencies, the television companies, and the movie companies.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't like it this year, they might like it next year. All I gotta do is make Christmas songs all year, or a Halloween song. What is? Think about it. Only Halloween songs I know that are evergreen. There might be more, but the only ones I can think of is Thriller and a Monster Mash.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna hear those every Halloween. And I did a podcast where guys like, you got one of my favorite Halloween songs of all time. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We never made no Halloween song. It's like Addams Family Whoop. I was like, oh my gosh, that wasn't Halloween, but Addams Family is, macabre. That is Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So that gave me the idea. And I was like, you know what? Nobody's ever made a Thanksgiving song either. And see, that'll be perfect because now we're doing Thanksgiving parades. We're in a Thanksgiving parade performing Whoop. So why not have a Thanksgiving song where everybody licenses it? You might have 10 people licensing your song at the same time. That might be $1 million entity right there. Right? You tie all these things into what you're achieving mastery at, and the combinations are endless. So when you ask me what's next for you,
Depends on the combination.
Depends on the combination. Depends on what is in front of me, right? I've accomplished what I've wanted to accomplish, but then, I spend my time archiving Tag Team, archiving DC, because the reason we love Shakespeare and Van Gogh and Bach and all those, because back then somebody had the wherewithal to archive their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Shakespeare's Boy Roger was probably way better than him, but all his stuff burnt down in a fire, right? Because he was an alcoholic, right? And now nobody knows who he is. I'm making a Tag Team museum. I will be known through the end of time because I'm working on that, because I know Wikidata, and Wikidata is new, and Wikidata is what Google trusts more than anything, because in SEO, or just on the internet, the physical world had to be put into the digital world. That's what people have been doing the last 20 years. But who's the one who's organizing all that? Right? And I realized that it's up to me to organize all mine. But Google gives me the recipe. See, this is the essence of SEO. Google is a robot. Google doesn't have emotions. Google is not in this feeling. Google is a robot. Google gives you the recipe and says, now feed the bot. So I could either be a short order chef, short order cook, or a Michelin 5-star chef. I choose the latter, right? Because now I get to help Google do his job for it. Now Google blesses me. And now I'm on the first pages of anything I kind of want, other than like real estate, dentistry, the big hard ones. But there are so many other, I don't need, this is the thing. Everybody gets in their emotions because everybody wants to be liked. That's why social media, everybody, older or don't know about social media. Like, I hate social media and the reason they hate it because they think it's about getting liked, and they can't get likes. They can't figure out how to manufacture likes. So they think it's just a young people's game. And that's true. But social media is about engagement. You want 100,000 likes, but what is it that you're trying to do? Right? I know that I don't care how many likes I got. All I'm trying to get is 10 people that I can answer their question and be of service to them and get paid for it. All you need is 10. You're only one person. Why are you trying to get 100,000? So I don't have to go for those big keywords. I can go for the small keywords because I'm strategic. Google got some questions in the middle of the page. Where can I do this? Every day you go into Google and you type in something that you need bad. Sometimes you find it, a lot of times you don't. But what if I'm on the other side and I could be the answer to your question? Right? That's all you have to be, is the answer to people's questions within what you do.
Love
so if somebody wants a rapper from the 90s who can be a public speaker, well, you're going to find me, because I can do that for you. If somebody wants DC to Brain Supreme or wants tag team to come scoop ice cream for some kids and they willing to pay me, oh, you're going to find me for that. Because I answered the questions. Google gives you the question. When you type in, I need this, what comes down? A bunch of suggestions before you even finish typing. All you got to do is take those questions and answer them. Can I answer any of these questions? Yep, that's what I'm going for. Because if somebody answers that question, it's almost like if I get in a car accident and I break my leg, I'm like, oh my God, call 911. Wait a minute. There goes an ambulance right there. I'm good. Same concept. You got to be that ambulance for people who need you in a pinch. And that's all I try to do. So it's creativity. It takes creativity to do all that. So that, for me, that is how I do it. Everything for me is a Trojan horse. And everything that I put in that Trojan horse is for me to infiltrate everything, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I do. That's why I do press releases, because if I got the headline, tag team continues to inspire at the 2021 Geico 500, NASCAR Geico 500. Tag team with the Grand Marshals, the Geico 500. Yay. The rest is DC's in this movie, this TV show. He's trying to do this. He wants to be in The Mandalorian. He wants to be in Star Wars. He wants this, that, and that. He's going to be here. He's going to do this podcast, and that podcast. If you want to reach him, be here. If you want to do an article with him, do here. If you want to do this, you want to do it. Boom. Trojan horse for me. Because the headline, because of who I am, they're going to pull it. And you just got to they're going to pull it, and they're either going to read it. That's how and this how I know this is because after I did that first podcast for Scoop, there it is. The next day, the Dan Patrick Show calls me. Says, we want you Super Bowl Friday. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, how'd you your press release? Oh, okay. And now I'm on national TV, Dan Patrick Show, talking about strip clubs and everything else. And Geico's listening. He will not get off of it. So I'm just squint, but it was fun, right? And I'm on national TV and everybody knows. And now that podcast or that television performance lives forever on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Because they know how to optimize their YouTube channel because they're the true professionals. It will be seen forever. 2 weeks later, Tamara Hall. Hey man, why'd you pick us? Saw the press release. Oh, now I'm on national TV twice for a press release. Now everybody's mama sitting home watching Tamara Hall, daytime ABC, is calling my people, talking about, I didn't know your brother did that. I didn't know, man, your mama must be proud. Right? Everybody, mama, everybody I grew up with, everybody, you just realize how many people watch daytime television. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do. Every time I drop a press release, a whole bunch of things happen. But I don't get greedy with it. I only do it when it's relevant. When I know I have enough to create curiosity. And this is just the next phase of it, because I know that the way I talk, like I'm working on a TED Talk now. I had to figure out what it was because what they want, I had to figure out the process. The process is they want you in TEDx because they want you in the farm system. They want to get you ready. Then if you got a good enough story, then you get a TED Talk. But I'm like, I ain't got time for that. I got to infiltrate from the side. So how can I do that? So let me become a public speaker because people are telling me that I could do this well. So let me go see what the possibilities are. And now I've got certain agents are like, I want to meet you when you come. The whole conference knows I'm coming. And the guy told me when I joined, he said, you're going to be the biggest one at this conference. Watch. It's like, really? It's like, dude, everybody's doing stuff on tarot cards and playing the bongos, and they got their message wrapped in that. Said, you have one of the most iconic pop culture entities ever. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to be at your table. So that's why it's funny when you said Brandy, because I'm saying I just finished this brochure. I got to do another brochure, have it in by 12, so I can get a roadie to come pick it up, take it to the hotel, and one of the people that want to represent me, they're going to sit in today because it starts today. They're going to sit in my booth and represent me, and I'm going to learn how good they are, right? And if I get somebody to represent me now, I could go around the world speaking to colleges with the same message of steadfastness, perseverance, never giving up, learn how to learn, and get $25,000 of speaking engagement.
Mm.
So when you ask me, what's next? I just got off a meeting with my crypto coach, right? You ask me, what's next? People are bombarding me for NFTs. Why don't you make a tag team show and then you can sell it as an NFT? Well, I don't know what that's about yet, but thank you for calling, right? Because I know that I have to do my due diligence before I could just bring other things on my plate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's my life. And I just want to thank you for having me on. Let me run my mouth on and on and on and on, because I learn more things by doing this, right? I figure it out. I talk it out. And if I see you're not paying attention, then I know that I got work to do. But
No, I love it. I think you have given so many good pieces of advice, so much insight, and I appreciate all of it. But with that, I just have 4 final questions for you, and then I'm going to wrap it up. First one is, what's the best piece of advice you were ever given?
my father actually gave me the game when it came to money. Actually, no, this is the best one he gave me. He said, son, when I was young, I seen all my friends with the Cadillacs and everything, and I would just be mad because your grandmother wouldn't let me go hang with him, and she made me go to school. And now I got the Cadillacs, and they all broke, right? And he said, you're doing good with this Whoomp, there it is thing, but it's gonna fade. Don't chase it. Don't chase that fame. Don't chase that stardom. And I remembered that. I was like, oh, Pop, you don't know what you're talking about. But I remembered he said it. I might blow it off, but I remember everything and I'm listening. Right. And then he gave me the game on finance. So I never could blame anybody on finance, because he told me, he said, look, spend less than you earn. Pay yourself first, put the rest away. Simple.
Yep.
And I was like, I ain't doing that. I'm balling. About the party, right? You know what I mean? So, every generation is different, but those fundamentals are the same. Always.
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 And one more time for the people in back that missed it, share with us one thing on your bucket list.
Really, I want to be in The Mandalorian because I love Star Wars. I was like 10 years old when it came out, and it's just like, oh my gosh, what is this? And people don't even realize how much it changed our lives. And I will never be able to explain it, but I know that if I get the chance, my work ethic and my mastery and my drive for mastery will create whatever character they give me and make it memorable. And if you're a Star Wars character that everybody loves, you last forever.
Can't wait to see you in it.
Yeah. And like I said, give me 5 lines with The Rock, a big movie. I'll do the rest.
So when the toy companies finally get around to making an action figure of you, what 2 accessories will it come with?
Interesting. Well, probably a book and a microphone.
Love it. And the last one, how do people find you?
Type in my name. You see it right there, DC Glenn, or tag team, or Whoomp, there it is, because I know SEO and you will find me. Simple.
Love it. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Please comment, like, or share this episode, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more information on how I can help you create your iconic image, visit marlanasemenza.com.